let me have some of your White Claw?
Yeah, go ahead. There's also, if you want one of those...
I don't want one of those.
Yeah, they're kind of shitty. Oh, I had it perfect.
You did it again. What the fuck? One. Okay, be sure to kind of talk as loud as you can.
Loud as we can.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So, all right, we got a great one today. We got a legendary one today, as always. My boy Uter is here to do an interview. I'm super stoked about this. I'm excited. We did some traveling to do this. Bubsky's been out here for a while. I've seen his stuff for a while. We've been friends. We painted a few things here and there. But I got a lot of respect for this Bubs, so I'm super excited to have him on this.
Excited to be here.
Okay, so we're gonna start out basic. Might suck, but if you just want to tell people like how you got into graffiti and kind of how you got your name.
Ooh, it's a broad question. But yeah, I've been obsessed with graffiti forever. Like, little tiny kid, always loved it, didn't understand it, wanted to understand it. I would like draw on my high school like fucking locker and get in trouble and thrown out in different schools, but I always just loved graffiti. Yeah, I guess it's a broad question, but been obsessed with it since day one. I guess I got really into it through just seeing it growing up in Los Angeles. And like, I lived up in the woods, but every time I had to like go into town or do anything, it was such a journey, because I'd be so stoked to just see like what was new, what spots were hit, who hit those spots, like, and I had no attachment to it, and there was no like book, or like, this is also like before everyone was on the internet, so there's no like anything behind it. It was just this thing. It's like, you can, like, if you're into sports, you can look up the backing of like any basketball player and where they came from and why they're doing that, or, you know, like any famous person. It's really easy to find that information. And graffiti to me as a kid, like, some people pushing styles and getting weird was more famous or infamous than any fucking actor or a musician or anyone, because I didn't know who the fuck they were and why they were doing it. And like, I think that's what was a big push, was just to be a part of like that like weird fucking fun, mysterious fucking juvenile bad boy stuff.
And how'd you pick the name Uter?
I used to write like so many stupid names. Like, my first name I think I wrote was like Smog, and then I wrote Igor, and then I went to jail as a little kid for that, and then I got out, and then I was writing Shame. I remember at one point I wrote SE123, and then my boy was writing Devote for a minute, and I got him into painting because we both got kicked out of school, and we were in like a bad school together, and we started painting together. And I remember looking through like a really old sketchbook from like before I even did graffiti or anything, and I saw like a little illustration of a cow nipple, and then it was spelt out Uter. I like spelt it wrong, and I was like, oh, that shit's tight. Like, Devote already spells his name DVOTE. Like, maybe I could spell mine like without like one letter too, so it could just be like UTER. And that's still when I thought you spelled Uter like a cow udder, like UTTER. I didn't think you spelled it like with the D. I'm like dyslexic as fuck, so letters are always weird. But yeah, that's how it all started. And then ever since then, it was like Utterly Devoted. And then together, it was kind of like our cool little like bad boy thing. Like, we'd go out and fucking paint Utterly Devoted, and it was just like, yeah, that's Utterly Devoted.
And so typically, what is your process of painting in your stage of painting right now?
Like, right now is really different, but it's like hard. Like, I've always just pretty much like worked with whatever I could, you know. I've never really had a lot of money, never grew up with money, never grew up with any of that, so like I would always just be like stealing paint from my like fucking neighbors' garages, or like biking fucking 10 miles because I knew there was a bucket paint lying on the ground that I saw from the school bus or something, you know. And like it was always just like anything that I could like produce with. So like I always love working on that. Like give me like some random scraps, like, oh Bub, like can I borrow a can? Like I'll make something happen. But like now that I've been like working a lot more and like trying to make this shit my career, like I get like big budgets and I get like so anxious and like weirded out when I am like, they're like, oh, here's all this paint, like what colors do you want? And I'm like, oh, I just need like some buff and like 5 blacks and like maybe like a scrap or 2 of pink, you know.
Right.
So like it's a weird flip for sure, but always just trying to have fun and like whatever I can use to make anything, make it, you know. Like if I have like some fucking crayons and some shit, like I'll figure out a way to like make them permanent. Like I don't know, just working with anything I can.
Yeah, I noticed you've always had like a bucket fill kind of thing, just sometimes even some dollar can outline, and that shit still works and it hits.
Yeah, and like I dedicate like all my anything and knowing how to use a spray can to like specifically just using that shit. Like growing up in LA, when I was growing up, like I thought racking was like impossible, especially only for spray paint. Like I'd always rack candy and do like stupid shit and steal some shoes here and there, but like painting, everything was on lock. Like being fucking 15 years old and like hearing about how sketch it is to rack paint, like it was impossible. So it was like, I'm gonna scramble some money together, and I got like this random buff. I can buy fucking $5 cans for fucking $5. Like that's a burner, and that's pretty much just how it's always started. And like I love that. I still throw back and get into like dollar cans and buff nowadays. Dollar cans is like the only thing that sucks is like you give it a year and it's pretty much gone, you know. So like moving into Rusto is like, I don't know, the best thing. And then figuring out that I could start racking, and then like traveling a bunch, and then being like, oh, they don't even know that people are stealing spray paint out here. Like I want to push like 3 carts, and then like using like a Rust-Oleum, like a fucking like my sword, you know, like dedicating so much time and effort into like that can, and like trying to figure out like how to like make it look like my sketches. Like how can I like draw with a spray can? That was like the biggest thing for me and Devo growing up. It's like how can we draw with spray paint like we can on like paper? And I think just years of doing it, now we can.
Who's like some of your, or who do you like to paint with right now?
You're a great bub, dude. You push me. Love that. Isrek's always been a great challenge and someone to work with. One of my favorite writers. My whole crew continues to challenge me and push me no matter what. That's why people on my crew, it's not even a crew, it's my family. We're always working on something new, trying to push new ideas, working on shit. And like even if we're all in different states, we're all still like, how can you mix this up? What can you do like that? Oh, you're doing that? Sick. How can you use like this little font and do something with that? So I think like my crew is like my favorite push, because I don't know, pushing with like the dudes that I grew up with painting and like still just being on that level is awesome. But I travel a bunch, so it's like what city, you know? It's like Chicago, like Orphan, Swoon, like New Orleans, like Steve and Devote, like Los Angeles, fucking Merch and Scape, and then like fucking Portland out here, it's like my boy Prague and SF280, and now my homie Motel, like, and then all the other little states in between, like Kansas City, always out to racking, like fucking, I don't even know, like Told You in Salt Lake City, all the LD boys in St. Louis, like, yeah, I don't know, I just love painting with people, toy, legends, whatever. If we can like hang out and party and have a good time painting and maybe get stupid, like let's draw on some stuff.
That's dope. It's pretty funny how people can really base the whole career on not fucking with people. Which everybody has their own path, but I think that some people get good inspiration from working with others. And I think, I don't know, collaborations and things like that just really take people's ideas to the next level sometimes.
I think that's the most important thing, is like all of that. Like I wouldn't paint the weird, goofy shit I would paint if it wasn't for like traveling and collaborating and like pushing ideas, like, and other people pushing my shit, and like being like, oh, let's make this wall a bunch of bananas and hot dogs. Like, fuck it. And, like, someone's uncomfortable, but then after they leave, it's like, oh, man, I feel comfortable about painting hot dogs and bananas now. You know? Like, and then working with legends and figuring out their styles and, like, them telling me, like, oh, how you paint is crazy. And I'm like, dude, I've looked up to you since I was a little kid. Like, let's work on something together. And just a collaborative layering process, you know? I think it's just like how I paint. It's like, nothing's ever a fuck up, you know? It's just like, oh, that's another little, like, trick to the fucking, like, bag, you know? And it's like, I'll go paint the toy as shit, but then still try to do something new. And I don't care how bad it looks, that little new technique is like, oh, maybe I'll throw that one in the book, you know? And painting with, like, random folks, that's always the best, you know? Because it's like, oh, I either gotta, like, make my shit, like, really cool and intense, because these dudes are really cool and intense, or I gotta dumb it down a little bit, because these dudes only do throwies, you know? And, like, but, like, having that, like, on and off in that process is just, like, always kept it, like, fun and entertaining, for sure.
What stops you from doing more graffiti than you want to and you like to?
One more time?
What stops you from doing more graffiti than you would like to? What stops you from painting more than... Is anything stopping you? You get it as much as you like?
I should not paint as much as I do. Like, not even trying to be cool. Like, I have, like, a problem where, like, I should deal with real life issues, but if I tell myself I'm painting, then I tell myself, like, oh, it's okay, I can deal with those real life issues later. But, that shit stacks up. So, like, I think the only thing that would be, like, stopping me from painting right now is, like, probably things I should be dealing with, like, real life responsibilities and shit like that. Like, I just wrecked my car yesterday, and I should be, like, dealing with that shit, but I went out painting and, like, I'm doing an interview with you, you know? Like,
Right, you just crashed your car yesterday.
yesterday.
And we're right here doing this interview. And we just painted his spot and this and that. So, yeah, I mean, I can relate to that for sure.
Totally.
The balance of graffiti in real life is super tough and interesting. But, you know, I don't know, it all depends on the situation and people, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, like, I don't know, like, I came from shit, like, nothing. Like, I grew up, like, my electricity was ran off of a generator, and if I wanted to, like, even play the old school video games I had to, like, make money to get gas to do that, you know? So, like, graffiti was always just, like, an escape from that. And after years of traveling and being dedicated to pushing that escape, like, people have been like, oh, dude, like, we dig your shit. Like, do you want to come paint with us? Do you want to, like, here's a job. Here, paint our business. Like, can you do a design? And, like, I have so much design work and shit, like, up right now, and I'm so blessed. Thank you, anyone that's ever wanted any of my shit. But I just get fucked up, and I'm like, oh, I could just go do a throw-it, and I'll be fine. Like, oh, I could just go walk Frank Dog, and I'll be okay. And, like, these things of people wanting me to do shit now is like, oh, fuck, I don't want to do any of that, because that's work, and then graffiti should be play. And I don't know if that makes any sense at all. It's kind of the madness that I live in, that I wrap this whole thing up in.
No, it definitely makes sense. I think graffiti is just a big outlet for a lot of people on so many things, and that alone is a 3-hour topic. Or
Yeah, exactly.
3-hour fucking thing.
And I feel like I'm kind of trailing, so I'm sorry.
No, you're all good. So who's one of your favorite writers that passed away?
Passed away?
Yeah.
Hands down, all day, Animal, Smokey Looks, like, legend in the streets, legend as a friend, taught me so much. We love-hate relationship. We hated each other, but we loved each other. And, like, you know, before he passed, like, we were bubs, and I lived with that dude for 2.5 years. He's the reason that I went to the Bay. I would have never had a presence in Oakland if Animal wasn't like, yo, dude, I'll put you up for, like, fucking 2 months rent because I don't like my fucking roommate right now, but you got to figure it out. And by far, hands down. But that's a really hard question because every person that I know that has passed away is my favorite writer. Like, not even just this year, but, like, this year especially, I've had fucking 8 friends that's passed away, including, like, my father. But, like, when it comes to graffiti, like, I can't pick favorites anymore. I can't do that. Maybe if I don't know you, then I'm like, oh, that dude's so sick. But when it comes down to like, they're all my favorites. If I can paint with you and we have a relationship, like it's different. There's no categorization of like who's the best and worst anymore. Like, it's way different from growing up. When I was a kid, I used to fucking think everyone was the best. But then I met these people and they fucking sucked, you know? And then I like worked hard to like have them like accept me. And it was like, even when they accepted me, they fucking sucked, you know? And like people that I pushed away that were toys and nothing were like some of the dopest friends and dopest artists I know now. So like, there's no really category, but I guess Animal is the one that taught me the most. And I think about that fucker every day.
Can you talk about the people that you ran in? It's kind of a good segue into the next question. Some of the great people you ran into through graffiti and just some of the shitty people you ran into through graffiti.
When it breaks down, it's a lot more shitty people. But I'm not going to put anyone on blast. Like, there's so many amazing people I've met through graffiti. Like, some that have, like, passed away, like, just off top head, like his Script, Zex, or Guy, or my homie fucking Layer. Like, oh, I'm gonna get emotional on this, but I just had a lot of friends pass that are great people. But through my travelings, I've met some of the great people I've ever wanted. Like, laws of attraction are true, and I've wanted to paint with some of like the people that I've got to paint with. You know, I've painted with some of the best in Chicago, painted with some of the best in Los Angeles, painted with some of the best out here, Seattle. Like, everywhere I go, I've really tried to paint with really good people, and it's been easy to do that. But now I've traveled a lot more. Like, I'd rather just hang out with like my homies, and I don't really strive to like paint with the best writers anymore, because some of the best writers just I don't know, they got a whole different agenda than how I want to paint and who I want to paint. I don't know.
Okay. How are we at on time? What are we at right now? 16? Okay. So, where's the furthest place you painted?
The furthest?
Yeah, graffiti from here, from where you're from, I guess.
I've done both shores, like from the Pacific to the Atlantic, like back and forth from New York. I've only done New York like twice. Epic City, kind of hard to play the way I play out there, but I was brought around by a bunch of people. The only places that I haven't gone to that I really want to go to is like Detroit is one city I've never painted. Because, like, when Detroit was, like, popping, me and DeVoe were like, fuck it, let's go to New Orleans, you know? New Orleans is my favorite city in the whole U.S., hands down. Best place to paint, best people, best food, best entertainment, everything. Love New Orleans to death. But I would like to go to Detroit. I'd like to do, like, Philly. I've always wanted to do Rhode Island, too. Like, fucking, I like Rhode Island, I think. I don't know why. I guess, like, Geyer's from there, so, like, big push to go out there. But yeah, I've done a lot of states.
What did you mean by it's hard to play in New York, or is that what you said?
Yeah, it's just like there's so many writers out there and there's so much. It's like if I went out there, I would have to spend a year or two in like how I live. Like, I don't really... Living in New York's hard. Like, very cramped and confined and really expensive. And I love city life, and I've been in a lot of city life, but I also like cities like out here where it's like I can live in the city and then fucking drive 10 minutes and I'm in the forest, you know? And like, New York's a little harder for me on it when it comes to like, that's why it's hard to play out there. I'd have to spend some real time to like actually even have people even know that I even went out there, you know?
Where would you like to paint that you haven't painted?
I want to go like, I want to travel like fucking everywhere. Like, really need to go to Asia because UPay's out there. Like, I want to go to Taiwan really bad because UPay's been living there for 2 years. Another crewmate that I love. I want to go out there. But I'm pretty much a lot of Polish in me, so I want to go check out Poland. I want to do all this stuff. I haven't because I've been weirded out by... I have felonies, so I've always been weirded out by that. And then also I kind of wanted to be like an American, like, fucking...
all-American...
graffiti writer, you know? And, like, back in the day, that was way different to what it means now, you know? Like, I don't know, graffiti, to me, is American as fuck, and I love it, and that's why I want to be an American graffiti writer. But, like, now I want to get the fuck out of here, and I can't. Because of the Rona. So, after Rona, we'll see where I go. I'm gonna take a sip. Can we pan off to this other guy real quick?
Yeah, let's take a second.
Take a sec.
Just take a second.
Okay.
Back at it. Oh, also, sorry, didn't want to clip you off, but you asked me like what I really got into graffiti about, and I was thinking about it, dog, and it all just breaks down to like girls, dog. Like girls is why I got into graffiti. I used to like fucking do stupid shit and break windows to get girls' attention, and then like I got into graffiti, and then they'd be like, oh, look at that, I seen you walk, and that shit is, that's why I got into graffiti. It's women, man. Really thinking about it. And now I'm just addicted to this stupid, narcissistic, fucking, gnarly, fucking battle of a thing. Whatever. Okay, moving on.
Who were you seeing when you were coming up that was inspiring you?
Oh, man. So, like, originally, it's throwback, like, EE Crew, like, KOG for sure, like, MSKs when they were actually painting. Like, I remember seeing Revoke burners on fucking freeway signs when I was a kid, you know, like, and Auger was such a fucking beast, man. Oh, what that person was doing on the streets was insane, and that was always the push, like, coming from the end of, like, that era, before, like, those guys got all their fucking Hollywood jobs and all their shit, like, that, seeing that shit on the streets was amazing. You know, like, there's writers that don't even, like, paint that much anymore, but I see them here and there, and I love it. But, like, writers like Char and Yoink and Skeg and, like, throwback, like, fucking West LA shit. Like, yeah, a lot of, like, one of the biggest inspirations forever and still to this day, though, is big verses. Like, VS, 269, KOG, LTS, like, one of the dopest writers actively still painting. Grew up seeing him, like, all the LTS push is, like, also how, like, the buff paint and, like, KOG and writers like Dry and dudes like that, like, seeing what they can make out of nothing and then still have something, like, style writing, man. Fuck, if you were style writing back in, like, the early 2000s, I fuck with you, dog. If you still are style writing and trying to make your own shit, I fuck with you. Like, that shit is the most important shit, I think, ever. And it's fading, and it hurts my heart so much. But, like, style writing, man, that shit is important. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And I might sound like a goon to all these new kids, like, hearing this shit, but, like, style writing is important. You can play the Scrabble game and, like, steal everyone's letter and make your own throwy, or you could paint some weird-ass shit and, like, that's more important to me. I don't know. That shit gets me heated, but style writing is important. Moving on.
Okay. What's your favorite spot you ever painted? Actually, hold on. Before I get into that,
Yeah.
you said something about before these guys got Hollywood and stuff. As far as, what if you started to take on a lot of jobs and got paid more to do other things than graffiti?
And, like, that, I don't mean to call them out, dog, because, like, half these fools are my friends, and I don't mean it by Hollywood as a diss. Like, when I'm saying that, it's like, yeah, actually taking that money, you know? Like, get that money. I've done it multiple times, and I still will, but I'm on the craziest balance of just, like, dive all the way in and, like, only do fucking murals and canvases and make that coin, or, like, still keep it, like, street and, like, paint illegal graffiti. I'm like, illegal graffiti is the most important thing to me ever. Even civilian graffiti, like, that marijuana leaf or that fucking 420 in the middle of nowhere is so dope. Like,
what did we see today?
What's up?
What did we see today at that spot?
Which one?
That one that you took a picture of.
What was it? It was like something sex man too real forever young or something. Like, that shit gets my kicks so much. Like, and that's why I think, like, graffiti beef is hilarious. We could dive into that, but, like, cap me all you want, dude. Like, it's still not going to be as good as someone capping me with a fucking weed leaf 420, like Rebecca and Jacob, and then, like, a week later, Rebecca and Jacob break up, and then, like, Rebecca comes back and slashes out Jacob, and there's, like, a wiener on it. Like, that is the coolest beef ever, you know? Like, and do that all over my pieces. Like, do your name, write my shit. Like, that weed leaf, that wiener, no matter what, is gonna get all y'all. Like, if you don't embrace that shit, then, like, I don't know, because that is the coolest graffiti to me ever. And, yeah, I get excited.
Favorite spots? Favorite spot you ever painted?
I don't know, that one's so hard, because it's like, people, places, things like.
Okay, well, the
I try
spot
to
that
keep
you
making
walked
it
into.
better,
All right,
man.
don't involve the people. Let's talk about the spot where you were just like, holy shit, this is an incredible spot.
Okay,
You're
so
like,
New Orleans. Well, fuck, we're not talking about that shit. We're talking about out here. I'll talk about an epic spot that I painted out here with Parms back in the day. That one's way better. Like, there's this big barn off the 5 freeway. Like, it's, if you've been around, like, fucking people have been painting it forever. Like, old school KYTs have been on it. Like, I think there's still like a fucking. I don't know who's on top of it, but there's still, it's like an old barn. It's like off the side of the fucking highway off the 5. And like, it is been painted forever. I've seen it since I was fucking 15 years old and it's still rocking. But me and Parms painted this shit back in like 2012. And we had no clue where we were going. We parked all fucked up, just drove off the side of the highway, parked anywhere, ran in there, and we did a big Charles end to end on this bitch. And me and this dude like got there and we didn't know what we were doing. We had a bunch of buff in paint. We're like, oh, we're gonna go big. And then when we get there, there was already some shit like on it, but it was like pretty toy. Like it was just some neighborhood kids that were painting, but they went kind of big. So we had to go bigger than these kids. And we didn't know what to do, so we're looking around and again, it's a fucking barn off the side of the fucking highway, which is a bad thing, but we find all these hay bales. And we like roll these fucking hay bales over to the fucking wall and start stacking these hay bales up. And me and Parms are like standing on these hay bales doing buff fill, probably like right before the winter comes too, so it's like pretty kind of moist out, you know, like we're slipping around and shit. And like I remember at like 1 or 2 points, like we stacked them 3 high to get like the top outline, and Parms is a tall ass big boy. And this motherfucker falls like fucking 3 bales. 3 bales! Not stories, but bales. I don't know, maybe like, I would say all together, maybe like 20 feet high, falls straight into some shit, and I'm watching it happen like, oh no! And then this fool just falls into another bale, and he's all good. But we keep painting. We're there for like an hour.
we got 1 minute, 2 minutes.
Oh, 1 minute, 2 minutes. We're there for like an hour. All of a sudden, this crazy helicopter comes out of nowhere and like beams like around us, and we are panicking. We just throw the paint. We like run away. There's like this little tiny like weird like railroad cave thing. It's not even like a tunnel. We, like hide underneath this tunnel, and Parms' vision is shit. And I remember for some reason he had like a broken fucking piece of his glasses, and he's like taking out his piece of his glasses and like looking out to see if there's any cops and shit. And we're panicking, freaking out for like a half hour, not knowing what to do, little kids. And then like, we're about to like leave and we're trying to figure out where our car is. And we like peek out. And then like we see the helicopter. It doesn't even fucking care about us, dude. There's like a high-speed chase on the freeway right next to us. So we're just like, oh my god, all that work, all that energy, because we thought we were some bad boys having a helicopter. They don't care about us. They give a rat's ass about us.
Yeah, no one.
They're trying to catch some real criminal. So, like, we end up, like, finishing the piece, and it rocked for a couple years, and, of course, now it's buffed. But that's a good Pacific Northwest story, I think, right?
The homies got popped by a chopper in LA, though.
Oh, yeah. And, like, that was all around the time where, like, fools were, like, getting popped all the time with choppers, you know? So, like, that's why we panicked and fucking were freaking out. But, like, we weren't in fucking LA. We weren't, like, in the streets. We're painting a barn, you know, in the middle of nowhere.
What is something you learned from graffiti that you use in everyday life?
There's a lot of things, because I feel like graffiti is like a great survivalist skill in general. If you like know how to paint and you paint epic spots, you can figure things out. But the best thing about it is just like you can't really judge a person until you know them. And that's one thing that I really love about graffiti, is like being brought into so many people's lives through just vandalism. But then, like, these people turn into my best friends. So I think that is it. Like, the kinship, the community. Like, what revolves around graffiti, it's this weird... Now it's getting bigger and bigger, but this weird community that, like, it's like no other place will be like, yeah, dude, you do cool, like, fucking criminal shit. Come stay on my couch, dog. Like, let's do criminal shit together, you know? Like, I think that's a big thing. And then, yeah, boom.
What do you think about Instagram and graffiti and how that's kind of had a evolved together in the past couple years and been such a big part of graffiti?
Okay. Big topic. First of all, I'm not gonna be like corny, like, yeah, back in the old day, like before the gram and all that shit. Like, I use Instagram to my advantage. I love it. I travel through it. I've made money through it. It's an awesome fucking outlet in the window. But also, fucking, I don't know, 8 years into it, dude, it's driving me insane. And I, like, hate it. Because there's so much other shit now that's from it. It's not just, like, a way to communicate to other people. It's, like, a way to spread so much fucking anger and, like, other things behind, like, a fucking screen. It's like, see me in person, let's have a communicate, let's talk, you know? But then online, you can say everything you want and call me out and say, like, oh yeah, I love that your dad's dead, just like your career, you know? And it's shit like that. Like, dog, you would never say that to me in front of my face. And if we did, dude, we would have a talk. But, like, it gives people a false, like, sense of fucking something that I don't know what it is. And it's weird because, like, I'm going on the old school thing. I didn't grow up having a platform. I use this platform to the fucking shit that I can. But then, like, knowing that it's just something that's like a coat of arms, I hate it. I hate that shit. Like, I communicate with it, I travel with it, I love with it, I do so much with it. But, like, I try not to push hate with it, and that's what I feel like a lot of people are doing right now. And that's why I do not like it.
Where do you see graffiti going in the next few years? Do you think Instagram will be relevant in like 20 years? Will people be painting spots the way they do now? I guess let's go into Instagram first. Do you think Instagram will still be around in 5-10 years?
Hopefully not. Like, I think hopefully not, but I think that it's just going to be gnarlier. There's going to be another platform and another thing and another whatever. Without Instagram, I feel like that's the way people are going. I wish it could not be that way. I want there to be like atomic bomb. All Instagram profiles are fucking deleted. What are you gonna do now? You know, like, that would be epic.
Is there any advice that you would give to youngsters that are just starting right now in 2020, starting to do graffiti? What would you tell them?
Just fucking keep pushing, y'all, and, like, stop, like, trying to roll with the trend. Like, throw in, like, anything you've ever loved that you grew up loving as a kid and put that in your graffiti. Like, anything, any cartoon, any inspiration. If you're a fucking mechanic, like, fucking throw cars in there. If you're a cartoonist and you love cartoons, put cartoons in there, you know? If you love plants, fucking draw some plants. Like, throw something you love into graffiti and, like, yeah, turn that style into you know? And, like, study it, dedicate it. Like, doing bubble letters is sick, dog, but so many of the dopest bubble letters I've done are buffed. But, like, the ones that I got weird and put something I loved into it, they might not be buffed. They might be buffed, but they're not going to be forgotten, just like that other bubble letter that no one cares about.
Is there anything you kind of wish you were better at when it comes to painting?
Everything. I don't know. I could always be better. Like, I don't think I'm good at, like, anything. I, like, know how to use a spray can, but I'm not like, oh, I'm the best at it. I want to do a lot more, like, fades and shit, though. That would be tight. Like, way more, like, technical stuff. Like, with the illustration stuff, but way more, like, fades and working with a can and that route.
Well, I guess... I mean, first of all, what'd you have for breakfast?
It's cold. I haven't eaten yet. I've had a Truly and White Claw and some split.
Anything you want to say to the people to kind of just be like, peace out, kind of just a farewell? Anything you want to let people know?
We're all gonna die. Do something cool. But even if you don't, and you're cool, I fuck with you. I love you guys. I don't know. Fucking have fun. Shit sucks, yeah. Try to have fun and don't piss people off as much. I know it's hard. But, like, yeah, I don't know. Oh, bud!